Welcome back. So U.S. President Joe Biden has assured Americans that there will be a peaceful transfer of power on the 20th of January. It follows Donald Trump's election victory earlier this week. Biden thanked the country for supporting his government for the past 4 years.
On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty, because it takes time to get it done. And so much more. It's going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done.
Well, now Trump's re-election will certainly introduce a shift in U.S. foreign policy. This as fighting between Israel and Hamas as well as Hezbollah continues. But let's get some thoughts on that. And for that, we're joined by the UJ Center for African Diplomacy and Leadership's Dr. Oscar van Heerden. Dr. van Heerden, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. This is obviously going to be one of the big things that the globe watches very closely, particularly after the 20th of January. We heard from Joe Biden that is when that peaceful transition of power, he says, will take place. Your biggest concerns about what happens post the 20th of January, where U.S. foreign policy is concerned, especially with what's going on in the Middle East?
Good evening, Naledi. I mean, you know, if Trump is to be believed, then in the campaign trail, he has been very clear that he is going to bring an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. As you know, NATO and more than 15 Western Alliance countries, including the United States, have been supporting, backing, aiding and abetting the Ukrainian forces, both in the form of aid, money, but also in the form of weapons. And Trump was very clear from day one and on the campaign trail that he's going to bring that war to an end very soon. If it's to be believed, then that's what he's going to do with regards to Ukraine. We also know, and I don't know whether it was electioneering in the last few hours of the elections, of the polls opening, but we also were told that Trump had communicated with Prime Minister Netanyahu from Israel, saying that by the time he takes office officially, and that would be after 20 January, he wants an end to that war. And we will have to see whether he's going to make true on those sentiments.
Yeah, and I suppose then what guides if he makes true of those sentiments is really his motivation, right? And there is certainly the point that can be made that Trump intrinsically is a businessman and cares a lot about the bottom line. It certainly is something that he's talked about in his campaign, right? Getting the money right for the U.S. And one thing that can't be denied is that this war in the Middle East and the support for Israel having cost the U.S. quite a lot. So would that be the motivations that Trump would then be using?
Yes, this is exactly what he's been arguing. He's been saying to the American people that in his first term, between 2016 and 2020, the United States has never been as peaceful before. He certainly has not initiated or participated actively in any conflict or war. And he's promised the American people that this time around it's going to be similar. And the argument he's putting forward is that that money that is being spent on Ukraine, that is being spent on Israel, is money, it's taxpayers' monies that can be better put to use on ordinary Americans. You know, his argument was, for example, why should we give money to Zelensky when we can't even look after Americans after the hurricane in North Carolina?
Yeah.
So if he's going to be true to his word and it wasn't just rhetoric, then I think we can safely assume that indeed he's going to bring Ukraine to an end. And because of his innate support of the Israeli government, as we've seen in the past, I suspect it's going to take a little bit longer, but he's probably going to make good on that too.
What's your? That's interesting, because then I'm wondering if, and this is an interesting or an odd question to ask, but I'm keen to hear your view on it nonetheless. Because there's been such negative response in some cases to his victory in the US. But is there a sense that Trump may be the right person for, you know, softening geopolitical tensions? Is he the right person for that global tension?
No, not necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
if we have to listen to Trump, Trump made it very clear that he doesn't like NATO. He doesn't see why why America must be fitting the bill for European security. Last time, you know, unfortunately, he would argue he only had 4 years, and then he was kicked out. This time around, I think he's going to be quicker off the mark. I don't think that Trump wants to spend billions and billions on 800 foreign American military bases throughout the world. He's not wanting to spend billions on NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, to secure European security. He's saying Europeans must look after themselves, and I think Europeans should take that serious. And then, of course, he's going to pick a fight with China. I don't know whether it will go to the extent of a hot war, but there's certainly going to be a very intensified Cold War with China around chips, around technology, and of course slapping China with lots of tariffs.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be good for the international community.
Very interesting. Let's talk about us for a little bit now. Trump and AGOA.
Look, Trump is the leader of a hegemon and a unipolar hegemon that is waning, that is losing power. The world is becoming a multipolar world. We've seen formations like BRICS, and South Africa is the weakest link in the BRICS alliance. It's small, it can be bullied, it can be cajoled, and I think that if we don't play our cards right and if we don't play a smart game, then AGOA is going to be threatened. We might be slapped with some tariffs. You know, Trump and the administration on both sides of the aisles, including the Democrats, don't like the fact that South Africa is so close to China and Russia in the BRICS alliance.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to leave it there, Doctor. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We do appreciate it. UJ Center for African Diplomacy and Leadership's Dr. Oscar van Heerden.